The Napoli is a tier 10 Italian heavy cruiser, and with the current rank season taking place exclusively at tier 10, I thought now's as good of a time as ever to discuss this absolute monster of a ship. Ever since Petropavlos got nerfed a few updates ago, Napoli has been the undisputed tankiest cruiser at tier 10.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Now, you may be thinking, but what about Stalingrad? What about Puerto Rico? They're basically battleships, and yes, that's true, those are some incredibly resilient ships. However, there's a few factors which set Napoli's survivability apart from any other cruiser in the game. First of all, large cruisers such as Stalingrad suffer from the same fire and flood duration as battleships, that being a 60-second timer by default. A single fire on a large cruiser is capable of dealing 18% of the ship's total hit point if it burns fully, meaning all it takes is 1 or 2 permafires on these ships to seriously put a dent in their health pools.
Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about?
To seriously put a dent in their health pools. Napoli does not suffer from this, as she is not classified as a large cruiser, and therefore only burns for the standard 30-second duration. Now of course, none of this would mean anything if Napoli's armour couldn't hold up to par, but it definitely does. Her armour scheme is incredibly competitive, boasting a 40mm deck and 60mm of side plating, unovermatchable by any guns in the game. She also possesses a 60mm icebreaker bow, protecting her from overmatch from the front, allowing her to be incredibly aggressive if she so chooses to, without the fear of just being instantly deleted by a battleship. There is also a 220mm thick armour belt running along her waterline, which is 40mm thicker than the armour belt present on Petropavlovsk.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
Whilst Napoli Citadel is not located entirely under the waterline, it is a turtleback, which means it provides a higher level of protection due to the angling that is present in the armour. If this wasn't enough, Napoli possesses one of the highest health point totals of any cruiser in the game, only being beaten by large cruisers and just barely by Goliath. Now, her armour scheme and health point total on its own already makes her the single tankiest tier 10 cruiser, but she has another trick up her sleeve, or rather, down her funnels. She possesses the standard Italian exhaust smoke consumable, allowing her to stay undetected in her smokescreen at full speed for 40 seconds at a time. This can be used both in an offensive way and a defensive way, allowing her to push into aggressive areas unspotted, and also allowing her to turn out of an unfavourable engagement without exposing her broadside to the enemy in a gamer turn. And when I say she can stay undetected at full speed, that full speed is nothing to scoff at. She is the 3rd fastest cruiser at tier 10, only being beaten by her tech tree cousin Venezia and the Soviet light cruiser Alexander Nevsky. Crucially though, she is 3 knots faster than her nearest competitor Petropavlovsk, which gives her a significant edge in being able to reach important locations on the battlefield in good time.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
You could also gain a significant edge by subscribing.
Shut the fuck up!
To never miss one of these stupid videos. Now, I will admit there are downsides to the Napoli. She does not possess the option to take radar or hydro, yet alone both, which means in certain situations she is liable to rely on her teammates to provide spotting for her. However, she is pretty stealthy herself, with a fully upgraded detection radius of just 10.3 kilometers, over 2 kilometers stealthier than Petro. Unlike the Petro, she also possesses torpedoes. Now, these are not outstanding in any way. Being the same typical Italian torpedoes you'd find on the Venezia, they travel at a glacial 56 knots, and they don't do a huge amount of damage per hit, but of course, they're better than nothing. This is especially true when you consider what Napoli is best at, which is pushing into close range and brawling. And this is where my favourite feature about Napoli comes in. Napoli has the best secondaries in the game, and this is not a joke. Out of every single ship in the game, Napoli has the most effective stock secondary battery, even higher than Schlieffen. Now, being a cruiser, of course, Napoli is unable to take any captain skills to improve her secondary battery range or accuracy, but even without these skills, she has an incredibly impressive secondary battery range of 9.2 kilometers if you build for secondaries, which, spoiler, you should. Furthermore, these secondaries fire semi-armor piercing, which makes them absolutely terrifying for any destroyer caught out by her. And whilst they're unable to set fires, they can still deal significant amounts of damage through the superstructures of battleship and through the plating of most cruisers. Aside from being super effective, these secondaries are just a whole lot of fun to use, and I love them a lot. If you combine her survivability, her utility, and her secondary armament, you get the most effective pushing cruiser in the entire game, being able to take a significant amount of punishment whilst dishing it right back out, using her speed and smokescreen to reach key locations and using her resilience to hold them. This is what I believe makes her a brilliant pick for ranked battles especially. The naturally close quarters environment of a 6v6 game mode like ranked allows Napoli to thrive, with her secondaries and speed and armour making up for her poor main battery performance. Oh yeah, her main battery. I should probably at least mention it. It's not great. Poor range, poor fire chance on her HE shells, and an incredibly slow reload time. But you're not buying the ship for the main battery, you're buying it for literally everything else about her. Here's how you equip your Pocket Schlieffen. In slot 1, take Auxiliary Armaments mod to ensure her secondaries stay alive. In slot 2, Damage Control Modification 1 should be taken. In slot 3, take Secondary Battery mod 1. If you're not going to build her for secondaries, you may as well play Petro for the utility of her consumable loadout. In slot 4, take damage control modification 2. In slot 5, it's the one and only. And in slot 6, again, take auxiliary armors modification 2. Secondary's funny. For a captain build, choose something like this. Fortunately, this build can be shared with Venezia, as Sansonetti is a huge boost to both Napoli and Venezia. Now go out there and become the true pocket battleship.
Pizza, pasta, put it in a box, bring it here and put it on my tongue. Tortellini on my weenie, pepperoni on the walls, cheesy on my beanie, and some salsa on my balls.